Yes, I was saying I think this will be fun and kind of simple. I think I always tend to find nature landscapes to be very relaxing and easy to draw. Of course, though, I have an interior design and architecture background, so we got a few buildings in here and structures, so I'll just point them out. I'm not actually sure which bridge this is, but I think it connects Brooklyn to New Jersey. I'm not sure. Um, or no, not Brooklyn. I don't know. I don't know what bridge this is. This is the Statue of Liberty. It's very far away.
I think it's the Verrazano Bridge that connects it to Staten Island.
Yeah, yeah. Like that's Staten Island and that's New
Yep.
Jersey.
Yeah, so that further out is the outer bridge, but that's the Verrazano Bridge.
Right. So that's
Um,
that bridge. This is the Statue of Liberty. It's very far, so it's kind of just like a shadow. Um, right there. And then in the foreground here is Battery Park. Like there's like a stadium here and there's this building. I don't really know what it's for. Um, but besides those, and then like in the very distance where New Jersey is, some silhouettes of buildings and things. But the majority of this piece is like natural landscape, natural vista. And I always find that to be very, very simple and calming to render, especially in watercolor because it's so free. So I'm actually really excited. And we're doing a kind of like restrained color palette, which I love to do because everything looks so harmonious also. So let's just get into it. I'm going to shift my piece up, have my paper over here, and I'm going to start with pencil. And what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to take my watercolor palette and just put it on the paper and sort of align it with my previous one, but you don't have a previous one to align it with, but just sort of like, I want to say like 2/3 of the way up the paper. And we're just going to draw a straight line. And that's our horizon line. And I know you can see it because I can see it.
hard to
So
see.
this is our horizon line. And so here to the left, we're gonna, that you can't see. Something like that. I'm gonna draw it again. I want it to be more like this curve here. Don't put too much pressure on watercolor paper because it is difficult to remove. Because the more you erase on watercolor paper, the more you disturb the paper. It's really meant to like just think of it as like a really compact paper towel, and paper towels rip really easily because they're meant to soak up water and liquid. So it's kind of the same thing with watercolor pencil. I mean, watercolor paper. So we have this like very subtle S curve here. So we have a horizon line up here that now has kind of disappeared low key. Our horizon line up here, our S curve here. So I think we're going to do like our islands first or our land masses, like these two guys. And they're very simple. I just come out straight and I do, yeah, you can see that. I come out straight on the top and then I do some waves towards the bottom of the page. So they'll look like that. And then we're going to draw like this hill right there, because that's going to be sort of like our anchor for the bridge. So I start on the farthest left and I'm drawing like a bow, a mound, a curve, and then we got one stick, and then the second one, and we're gonna add some thickness to it right there. Don't think about it too much because this will just be depicted as like a silhouette. And I actually want to make it lower. Yeah, I want to make everything a little bit lower. I think it's like a little too tall, out of proportion. But from then, we're going to draw sort of like an opposite bow connecting the two sticks, which is like the suspension of the bridge. And that's our bridge off in the distance. And that sort of like connects to these hills here. And then out here in the middle, sort of in the middle, is the island that has the Statue of Liberty. So I'm just drawing like a very skinny ellipse, a very thin, narrow oval. And I'm just going to draw a straight line going up. I'm just going to leave it like that. I'm just going to leave it looking like that for now. And we're basically done drawing like on the top half. On the bottom half here, I'm going to start on the right with a line, a diagonal line going out like that. And then we're going to do sort of a straight line coming from that corner. And we're going to bring it back. And that's where our building is going to go. So we're going to draw a parallel line to this diagonal line. We're going to draw a line vertically on either end. We're going to draw a parallel line to this line here. And then at that corner, we're going to draw another vertical line. We're going to connect them like this. In the middle, I'm going to draw like a very faint guideline down the middle of the facade to draw a triangle at the top. That's how we get this triangle here. And then we're going to draw a line straight back or diagonally back, again, parallel to this diagonal line. And then parallel, a lot of parallel lines, okay? But this is just a simple building, I think. So about there, from here to there, that's like another roof. And then we're gonna draw this spire with the clock in this corner here. So just 3 lines, pretty much. And then a triangle at the top. And there it is. And I just feel like this island here was like kind of too, I don't know, on top. But that's our building. It's there. It's kind of sketchy. Can erase some of the lines you don't need anymore, like the lines that would be obstructed by the front of the building. And that was the most difficult part of this drawing process, I promise. Like that's really it in terms of like hard drawing. So now I'm gonna draw a curved line here in this right-hand corner, and then a little bit away, I'm gonna draw a straight line, kind of like following this angle. Like if I just follow that angle, I end up with a line here. And then very loosely, I'm gonna draw sort of like around, following the shape that I initially drew. And up here, I'm gonna draw an oval right there. And I'm gonna draw an oval inside that oval, but it'll be like kind of offset. So while this oval is like this oval is like this, like it's kind of shifted. And then we're just gonna draw a little box inside. So 3 lines, connect them. The third line is gonna be a little bit up. And then we're gonna do like a triangle on top. Like that, and it's like a little hut or something. And we're gonna do it again over here. Yeah. Yeah, that's that. And then around here, I'm gonna draw a line going straight back, straight over. And then out like that. And I'm gonna do it again on the inside. I'm not exactly sure what this is supposed to be. I couldn't tell from the photo, but I thought it created some interesting shadows, so I decided to include it. The other thing is that about this curve, so we're gonna draw a straight line up around here, or we could even do it like here, and then draw another curve following this original curve, and then we're gonna draw a line diagonal, and then same thing though. So this is a wall, this is like a barricade, and this is a sidewalk. And yeah, I guess the only other thing would be I'm gonna draw a line straight down and then straight over. It's parallel. That's the only other thing we really needed to have done there. Oh, we're done with the pencil. I mean, let's can draw like squiggly lines where all the trees are gonna go. You don't really need to do that because we're just going to paint that in. But basically all this negative space here and these islands are where the trees are gonna go, right? Just extending my camera a little bit so you guys can see with me. Now we're gonna bust out our watercolors. Yay! This is my palette. I have every primary color and every tertiary color. Primary and secondary color, I meant to say. So red, yellow, blue, primary, orange, green, purple are secondary with black and brown added to that. Our tertiary colors are like blue, violet, blue, green, turquoise, yellow, green, yellow, orange, red, orange, red, violet, and white, but we don't really need white. And so I hope based on the names that I gave you, it is pretty clear how we get these colors. You just add blue and violet to make blue violet. So we're going to start with a clean brush. Maybe you want to do one that's a little bit bigger than this, but these were the brushes that I grabbed. Oh, I do have a bigger brush. Okay. A nice flat one. And we're going to dip into some clean water. We're just going to put it side to side. It's very important that you apply the water like this. The way you apply the water to the paper matters. So now the paper is wet. And so what we're going to do, this is a blue-green. So we're going to dip into blue-green. If you don't have blue-green, you can just dip into blue and green onto the side of your palette. And like go like that with your brush. And we're going to do the same motion back and forth. And it's going to kind of like fade like a little bit lighter as we go down. Like we're going to start from the top. So the color will be more noticeable at the top, as you can see. And it'll fade into like a white towards the water. Just back and forth. It was very light and subtle. And I think I want to add a little bit more on top. Heavily mixed with water because I don't want it to be super duper strong. And watercolor will dry lighter than it applies as well. So it's important to remember that. Boom. That's our sky. Now we're gonna work on, hmm, trying to remember how I did this. I think I went in with a light yellow, even though you probably can't tell, right? You're like, yellow where? Yellow here. Um, so let's do it. I'm just gonna take a sip of water. Mm-hmm. Okay. I have this fluffy brush. I'm going to wet this entire bottom half that is actual battery park with clean water. The entire thing, the entire thing. Like even the building we're gonna cover with yellow. So, but first we're gonna cover it with water. And the reason why we're covering it with water first is because it lets the paint travel easier without having to constantly go back and add more like over and over again. Like it just helps it spread and soak in faster. It's called a wet on wet technique. And yeah, we're just gonna cover the building in water. And we're actually even going to fill in these islands with water, and then we're going to go in with just straight up yellow. If your yellow has like a lot of green in it, what you can do is you can wet it and then take a paper towel and like smush it in, and it'll pick up all the green and you'll have a clean yellow. Now, I'm gonna go back to filling in these islands here with sort of like a stronger yellow. Like wherever the trees are gonna be, it's fine to have a stronger yellow, but everywhere else, the yellow gotta be faint. Let me see if I can pick up some pigment from this island there. This is kind of like an underpainting, and I think what I really like about it is that it gives the piece sort of like this warm hue, sort of that late summer warmth that we got going on. And we're gonna contrast it with some violet, but oh, I forgot about this island over here. Our Statue of Liberty. Yeah, so we got that covered pretty much. And I guess, I suppose we could, let's start with these islands in the back here. So I'm gonna get like a really tiny brush for that. And I'm gonna go into yellow green. If you're gonna mix yellow green, I suggest you pick the yellow first, place it on your palette, and then get the green so you don't get the green on the yellow. I have this to save me time. personally. So we're going to leave a bunch of dots. We're gonna fill it in, but with a bunch of dots, pretty much. And this is just gonna be our first go of it because of reasons I will explain very shortly. Okay. I hope that we recall our flat brush here. We're gonna paint our water, but we're not going to cover it with we're not going to cover our water with water, ironically. We're just gonna go straight in with this blue green. I'm just lathering my brush in it and I'm like mixing it and I'm like blending it into my brush. And it's very important that you use a flat brush for this. You don't want to use a round brush. And I will show you why. You use the flat edge of the brush to get that horizon line. Look at that. Woo! So, sort of like very lightly going back and forth in the same motion. It gives the impression of like gentle waves, I think. Yeah. And I'm gonna add a little bit more water to my brush. To really like get this going. I'm just filling in around the building. So we're gonna do that again. We're gonna do that again, but this time we're gonna just use regular blue. Um, and we're only gonna do it in certain parts, in certain areas. So I actually have a little bit of a blue-green. I'm just gonna mix in some more blue so that it's not so jarring. And we're going to, I don't know if you notice, but it's really light here and it's really vibrant everywhere else. So we're going to fill in all these other spaces with blue and we're going to generally leave this area alone. I'm going to add some more water over here. Um, and I think we're just going to leave that alone for a while. For real. Just going to leave that alone. Um, because what order? Okay. So I hope you recall our fluffy brush. I have blue violet here. Very important color. That's kind of gray, but there's no black, which is great. The only black that is going to be in this piece is the Sharpie outline. So what I'm going to do is so lightly and with a lot of water on my brush is like really wet. I'm going to lightly go over all of the sidewalk. And I'm not gonna lie, I kind of did too much. So I have a tissue and I'm just gonna press it in to pick up some extra paint. And we're going to fill in this oval here the same way. And we're going to fill in the house as well. It's not a house, but you know, the building. And then it's so very light. Like it'll appear white by the time we're done with this for sure. And I'm going to take my thin brush and I'm going to dip into that blue violet. And I am going to draw or paint a horizon line. Sort of like off in the distance here. Because there are land masses that are visible beyond the horizon line. This is not open ocean quite yet. This is like the Manhattan estuary. So yeah, we got that line going on. And I'm like feeling around for any wet areas. I think I want to dip back into this water here. So I'm mixing my blue and my blue green. So just blue with like a little bit of green and a lot of water. And I'm adding finer horizontal strokes. And I'm going to do sort of the same thing with the blue violet, but a lot less so. Anytime my paint gets sort of streaky, I just know that that's the sign to add more water to my brush. And so in the existing like blue, I'm going to mix in that blue violet. Just to sort of have like some depth in the water. I think it looks pretty cool. Now finally the fun part, the trees. Oh my goodness. We're gonna grab our fluffy brush and we're going to dip into some orange actually, weirdly enough, because I wanted to block out the warmer tones before getting into the green. So I just take my fluffy brush and I go like this. And I cover wherever I want it to go. Just sort of like in dots and blotches. And I'm gonna do something similar on the island here. Or I should have said like islands, plural. But yeah. And so this is really fun because orange and blue, if you know, are complementary colors. So it really creates like a great point of interest. Um, and there's some red. So I have this red orange here. I'm going to swirl my brush into. There's like less red though. Well, that's so vibrant. Kind of fun. Just sort of going to pepper that in some places around the orange. We're going to sort of like wash off our brush and then we're going to dip into this yellow green and fill in the rest with yellow green. And so when the yellow green mixes with the red, it'll make shades of brown. So you won't have to add any brown. Some really nice, fun early fall colors. I'm gonna add some to the islands. They're not islands. I don't know what they are. Land. And we're kind of like neutralizing the red on it a bit. For sure. And I think I want to add some darker green. So this is just straight green here. I want to get rid of whatever piece of debris that was. And then maybe some more orange on my brush at the same time. So I kind of like destroyed my orange there. I didn't destroy it though. You see now I have this like really nice like army green almost. Luckily this is watercolor and all I have to do is wipe it off with a paper towel. Guys, we're almost done. Um, trying to remember. We're gonna go back into our blue violet with our very skinny brush. We're gonna mix a little bit more blue into it than violet. We're gonna paint our roof here. So there's that, and then maybe like a tiny fluffy brush to just dip into like regular blue violet. We didn't really pay attention to this area over here. Like I kind of forgot to paint it. But yeah, we're gonna paint that. And then we're going to paint like shadows. onto the pavement there. And same thing like over here. But this one is stippled because it's shadows from the trees. Yeah. Um, and this side of the building needs a shadow too, but it has to be so light and faint. Like, I need to add so much water to the brush. See, that's not enough water. There we go. Now that's enough water. We're gonna do the same thing for these structures over here. And we're gonna paint their roofs too. Actually, forgot to do that. With my blue violet, I'm gonna take my skinny brush and I'm gonna draw some lines going up here in the distance where New Jersey is supposed to be. So this will be like the Jersey City skyline way off in the distance. The final step is to outline everything in Sharpie, but a lot of my paper is still wet. So I'm going to show you what I outlined in Sharpie instead, so you guys can keep that fresh in your mind. I drew all the windows and the doors and the shadow of the spire on with Sharpie pen. But a fine tip Sharpie works just as well. Just make sure that the paper is dry before you start, otherwise it'll bleed. I shaded in fully like this barricade here, and then I marked out the sidewalk. Again, I don't really know what this is, but I drew a square and another square and like sort of the trunks of the trees, like it sort of comes up there. And same thing over here. And I just added little scribbles to surround the trees and within the trees. Same thing on the island. I added a railing. I think I would add it over here too. I forgot to do it when I did this one. And then I added a strong black line on the horizon and like really defined the silhouettes of the skyline, and I drew in sort of like a cone with like a little stick coming out to symbolize the Statue of Liberty, and I just filled in the bridge fully black. So yeah, that is what, and then I took like a white acrylic pen and I went over this area of the water and I actually added like a shining sun rays above it as well. and I added like some dots with the acrylic pen to make the water look like it was glimmering in the sun. Um, so yeah, those would be the final touches once your piece dries. As you can tell, mine is not, so I'm not gonna do it because it'll be bleeding like crazy. But yeah, that's those are the next steps. So, but I think that's all the time we have today together, unfortunately.